Hello, this is Mish from Downtime Distractions with an in-development review of a title called Watch This. So this is our fifth in the series of in-development review. If you want more details around this review type, please check the description below for specific details on that. Now, just before we get started, just wanted to mention I did receive this key for free for this title. But that is obviously where it stops. As usual, my reviews are honest and open and transparent. So anyway, Watch This is a first-person single-player platformer. You're on a futuristic game show that has put you on a space station with a maze as well. So it has many types of death traps and monsters. You must escape to win, and also possibly pick up some coins so you can get some prizes. Now, this review is going to be extremely short and sweet, as the game itself is extremely short. I'm not going to say sweet, let's say short and gruesome and violent. So yeah, it's developed by Civil Savages. So thanks to them for providing me with the review key. So this is their second game. They have another game on Steam which is called Dispatcher, and that has received very mixed reviews. So this title is coming out on the 9th of July at a price of $3.99 US or your local equivalent. It does have a 20% discount on launch, but obviously that doesn't last very long. Okay, so the gameplay, what have we got? So very simplistic controls. You got your movement, you got your interact button, you got your jump, you got your sprint. So you traverse the maze, avoiding traps and those monsters. You also have to collect a few objectives to be able to gain access to actually leave the maze. So that's really the goal, is to leave the maze. A couple objects you got to find to be able to unlock those doors. There's two other components that exist around the gameplay as well. So one of them is coins. So you pick the coins up to buy items for yourself and for your family. And I guess that's the kind of the game show gimmick type of thing there. You also have a bit of a power up. So it's like a lucky draw. So you can go up to a interface every now and again and choose two cards. Sometimes it'll be positive, sometimes it'll be negative, and then you have to deal with those cards until you die. You also have 3 deaths per go as well, which is quite interesting. But yeah, so those cards can be, you can have positive things, could be you get an Iron Man suit, so you seem to become invulnerable for a while against the monsters. Another thing would be I gained a block, so I could put up a shield to stop the monsters coming from me. But as I said, there's negative ones in there as well. But it does put a different spin on the gameplay, so that's quite interesting. So the current state of the game, I guess, is it stable? Yes, it is. And it performs quite well as well. It's not a bad looking game on the Unreal Engine. So the basic idea and the design are in place. But I finished the game in about an hour, and I was taking my time as well. So there's also no tutorial. It takes a bit of time to figure out the basics. So the future state of the game and what they want to do. So they are bringing this game into the early access to get that feedback as normal. So if you pick up this game, hit the forums with ideas and bugs to really help them out. It's not expected to be in early access for long. They've quoted 2 to 3 months, which for early access games is very, very short. So the future state that they want to work on. So normally I can go into great depth about this, but for this one, there's very little information around. So the only real thing that I can find is on the Steam page. So, and I quote, "Some of the game mechanics are still being under development and will be implemented in future updates." Apart from that, I've gotten some information from the forums. So my interpretation of it was that they're adding polish to what they've got. They're updating more traps, more enemies, and after that point they'll possibly work on expanding and adding more levels. But as I said, that's my interpretation, so don't take that as gospel. But overall, not really a lot of communication for the community, so that's not very good. I think this has also been exacerbated by a bit of a translation issue. So I think these guys are probably from Russia. So it will be good to see them give more information and give us an idea of what they're working on, what they're planning, and what they're aiming for, as that's really what early access is all about. Also, point to note here, price will increase when this leaves early access, so if you want to get in, jump in quick, obviously, you've only got a couple of months here. Let's take a look at the settings menu. So what we have resolution, anti-aliasing, post effects, shadow quality, textures, effect quality as well. And we have a full screen on or off button, well, tick box. We have no audio options, which is a necessity. And we have no ability to change the buttons. Once again, that's a bit of a necessity here. But for me, probably the worst thing that's missing is an option to turn off, to change the field of view. This game made me quite nauseous. So for me, a field of view option slider here is really required. Okay, so let's look at the FAQ section. So this is handy, but this could be done a different way in my opinion. So we have the, I guess, what buttons do, and a couple of other interesting things here, which is, I guess, what's going on with the game. A lot of this is very self-evident in the game, but things are missing here which I think could easily be delivered in the game by just putting a poster on the wall with, you know, a burger does this, a coffee does this. Just simple things here and there. It wouldn't be that hard to implement. But I guess this information is here if you want to read it. So being early access, here are my suggestions to things that I think will help the game progress along. So on the first thing will be a basic tutorial. I know we have the area at the start, in the start menu, which is a bit of a frequently asked question area and it helps you with the controls, but I just think in the game all we need is a couple of signs here and there saying, you know, this item does this, or this item does this. So don't have a massive tutorial. I mean, the movement's all fine, everything's fine, it's just more what does this item do would be a little bit helpful. Another one, fix the enemy AI. Initially they seemed threatening and slightly intelligent, but you seem to figure out how to avoid them and they lose potency very quickly. So then they just become more of an annoyance than anything else. Sure, their screams and when you alert them, they are, I guess, it's a bit of a jump scare. But apart from that, for me, they just seemed quite redundant after a while. More levels. The game is very, very short at the moment. But of course, this is early access, and that is one thing I believe they're going to work on. More traps, more trap types. So more interesting little things that you can die. Also, might be a bit hard to explain, but more subtle traps as well. So instead of kind of walking down a corridor and then you see a big trap slamming down on the ground with big spikes, you obviously know where that is and what that's doing. What I'd like to see, maybe little lasers here and there, that if you don't look closely, or if you're not paying attention, or if you're running too quickly, that you set them off and you're gone. And maybe also, I guess, a recap camera, so you can see what got you in that situation. A recap camera would be quite good in any case as well. Be very gory, but you know, it would be quite amusing, I think. But yeah, so more subtle traps, and that just to really make you slow down, because I found that, you know, I was so confident that I would run everywhere. I mean, that's quite positive for the platforming, but I think a game like this, you need to tread cautiously, and it kind of adds to the ambience and the tension to the game. Expand on the platforming as well, so make it a lot harder. So instead of just one jump to get to a location, make it you need to jump, you know, 3 or 4 times, and really tricky jumps as well, so you actually feel a sense of satisfaction once you've completed it. Just one jump here and there, for me, I don't class that really as platforming. That's just you know, run of the mill. There needs to be more than just that. Alright, so there were my suggestions. So let's just have a bit of a summary and we'll probably just wrap it up here. So the game is very brief, but the price definitely reflects that. I did enjoy my time with the game. It's amiable, but I did suffer quite a bit of nausea as well. So without a field of view slider, I probably wouldn't have played this game any longer. It really needs that field of view slider, as you know, the nausea gets up there pretty quickly. So graphically, the game's good. I think you know, the textures are nice, the lighting's not too bad. It's actually not a bad looking game. I don't think the monsters fit in with the game though. They feel out of place. I think it would be better to have, I guess, psychotic people. You know, someone with axes, someone with knives, chainsaws, you know, just face masks, all that kind of usual kind of horror, cliche horror characters. over the monsters. I just don't really think the monsters really work in this setting. Audio could do with quite a bit more work, so the ambient noises were okay, but once again, I guess the monsters, I don't think that sounded very good. And the commentator, I mean, this is a personal preference, but I didn't really think it worked. I don't know exactly what they're trying to go for, the kind of Japanese game show style, but for me, I don't think it worked. I don't think it was a very good voice acting. I think they could have, if they got someone maybe better to do it, it might work better. But I mean, sure, it fits the bill and it works, but it could just be a lot better. So for the gameplay, I mean, all components are there. It all needs work though, and obviously they need to augment in all facets as well. So I guess, more levels, more traps, all that type of stuff. But I will raise a big concern here, I guess, with the entire game. And for me, that's the communication. And as I said, this could be a bit of a translation issue, but they really need to detail out what they're aiming for. This is early access, and it's all about communication with the community. So I'm raising that as a concern. In my opinion, it needs to be more in there. So we want to plan roadmaps, ideas that they're thinking about but maybe not implementing. This doesn't need to be a lot. Just a couple of lines of what their plan is. So for such a small little game, the price tag does definitely match that. I'm not going to say this is definitely a buy, but I don't really see the harm. As long as you go in with the expectation that this is an early access game, it has bugs, it's extremely brief, and there may be more to come in the future. And obviously this is a platforming horror game, so if you're not into the genre, then maybe don't pick it up. But for such a cheap price, it's not too bad. Just one other thing as well, not so much a major point, I just thought you may have noticed it as well, but this game has many things which I would be very cautious as putting in a game. I guess one thing would be there's Marvel things in there, so there was an Iron Man mask. There's a picture of, I think it's Larry King and Bill Clinton in the background, and many of the characters are based off, by the look of it, real world people and people from movies and stuff. For me, I would avoid that, but obviously these guys are confident that it's not going to have an issue. But yeah, I found that interesting. I don't know if anyone else noticed that as well. Always interesting when you see stuff like that as to what will happen, if anything. But yeah, just thought I'd mention that as well. So that was pretty short and sweet, and I'll leave it here, as I said. So yeah, this has been Mesh. This has been another in development review. I've enjoyed my time with this game and also making this video, so I hope you have as well. If you have some feedback, leave it below. Please give me a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. Positive and negative criticism is always appreciated, and subscribe for more videos from us. I have quite a few reviews coming up in the next few weeks, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time.